Many people look forward to family gatherings this time of year, but for one Wiregrass family, there has been a void, a noticeable one, for the past 50 years.
News 4's Devon Sellers joins us from the site of a tragic accident. Devon?
On December 7th, 1963, the Langford family was going Christmas shopping, but that holiday tradition never happened. It's been nearly 50 years since a freak train accident at this crossing in Midland City took their lives. Every day, countless people drive over these railroad tracks in Midland City without giving them a second thought. But for others, the sight is difficult to forget.
It was something I don't want to look at again. It was horrible.
12 members of the Langford family were riding in their station wagon on December 7, 1963. When they got to this railroad crossing, witnesses say the car stalled out. Before anyone could help, a freight train hit the car. 11 of the family members were killed, 5 adults and 6 children. Jerry Seegers heard and followed the ambulance.
Train had already, it done stopped down the way, but it tore the car all to pieces. And the bodies, had the bodies covered up by the time we got there. But there was 12 on the car, and 11 of them's in the cemetery here.
Just 11, though. One Langford survived.
Every year on December the 7th, because that's the day that they passed away, it's a sad day.
Margaret was just 13 months old, escaping the crash with just some cuts and bruises, but still battling deep emotional scars.
I never cross this railroad track unless I have to, so I go all the way around Midland City to avoid it.
Margaret was raised by her aunt and says it was hard for her family to cope with such a great loss.
It was very hard. I hear them, talk about it, and I have one uncle that he lost his wife and 4 children. He lost everybody, everything. He was really, really bad. The life for him was probably the hardest, of everybody.
For 2 people who would normally be strangers, Margaret and Jerry are now tied together by these headstones. He is the caretaker where her family is buried.
Kind of sad to see a whole family wiped out. You're brokenhearted when someone passes away, but when you see a whole family just destroyed in just a matter of seconds, it's kind of hard to cope with for some people.
But Margaret has learned to cope. She now has 2 sons and 3 granddaughters. Keeping her family's legacy alive is a priority.
I want my children to know what happened, and I want my grandchildren to know.
And to tell her family's story, she relies on those who knew them best.
I remember the good things. I remember life. I remember Jeannie. She was a big girl. She had long hair, always wore it in a ponytail, and always happy, always laughing, smiling. Ray, he was a little bouncing around. He was what you call hyper today, but he was happy too. They were just happy people and happy with what they had.
Although these tracks mark an end, they also mark a beginning, forgetting the pain left on them 50 years ago, and instead celebrating the miracle we brought away. Now, many of the churches wanted to divide the family. That's why they're buried at the Magnolia Church Cemetery. It was the only church in the area that would allow them to all be buried in one plot.
Wow, it's so nice to see Margaret being able to move on like that.
It is.
Thank you, Devon, for that great story. And the records of deadly crashes, they were not kept at that time, but as far as we can tell, this still remains the deadliest train crash in Alabama.
And by the way, the state is currently ranked 6th for vehicle-train collisions.